My name is Tosing Omolaja, and you're welcome to NAFDAC and Your Health, where we bring you all the important information you need to know about NAFDAC, the agency saddled with the responsibility of safeguarding our health by ensuring that the foods, drugs, cosmetics, and medical equipment made available to us are safe and wholesome. Last week on the program, we began by showing you how NAFDAC has been preparing for the receipt of Nigeria's supply of the COVID-19 vaccines under the COVAX program, to ensure that the process of delivering these vaccines to Nigeria is not only seamless, but most of all that the quality of such vaccines is guaranteed. NAFDAC is working with international organizations and regulatory bodies.
It is not just that we are working at the country level. NAFDAC is one of the 4 countries, or one of the regulatory agencies in Africa that is on the African Union Smart Safety Surveillance Steering Group. And the African Union Smart Safety Surveillance is all about monitoring of commodities, of drugs, medical products, things like that. We have pharmacovigilance being represented there, our pharmacovigilance, and somebody from primary health. So we are working collaboratively at the country level and also at the continental level. MHRA, which is the FDA equivalent in UK, is working with us on this. Bill Melinda Gates Foundation is working with us at the continental level. The COVAX facility has arranged that 20% of each country's population, that 92 countries on the list, that 20% of their population will be given free vaccines, which means about 40 million people in Nigeria will receive, or Nigeria will receive 40 million doses of the vaccines. But at the beginning, maybe starting from end of this month or February, it will come in trickles. And then thereafter, especially when we now have more manufacturers, it will start coming as expected.
Although these vaccines have been approved by first world countries like the US, the UK, and EU, NAFDAC still has a responsibility to ensure that these vaccines are good enough for the Nigerian population.
Whether it is drug or vaccine, any regulated commodities must be approved by NAFDAC. If we don't approve, I will advise against using it. But we will approve it. And we are sure to approve it because of this reliance that other countries that took so much time to review it, we are relying on their judgment, plus other things that we need to also look at in the dossier. So NAFDAC has to approve before the vaccines can be used.
Today, we take a deeper look at the plans and measures the agency is putting in place to ensure issues like adverse reactions and ability to track and trace these vaccines are done impeccably, as well as the collaborations that will guarantee even spread of the vaccine.
We are going to use what is called track and trace, traceability, to ensure that the vaccines leaving the manufacturer is the vaccine that you and I will get. Because as we speak, there are fake COVID vaccines already. So what track and trace will do is a technology-driven supply chain monitoring. What track and trace will do is that it will identify if there is infiltration in the supply chain, if there are fake medicines that have been mixed, fake vaccines that have been mixed with the genuine one. So we are using track and trace, and Nigeria is the second African country that will be using track and trace. We are working together with Ethiopia because the regulatory agencies of the 2 countries have been trained to a great extent in that technology. It's a GS1 technology. That is what we're going to be using. And our own staff here the technical working leader is also working with the technical working person from Ethiopia. So this way we know where the vaccines are. And it's not just where, because there's going to be a global positioning monitoring. So you get you get an address of a particular healthcare center, you figure out where the global positioning is, so that when we scan at the ports of entry at the airport, when we scan it, we already have the master data or the original data from the manufacturer. And if it is in Calabar, after distribution or at the distribution point in Calabar, it will tell us that yes, and it is this batch that entered the country that is now in Calabar, and 100 patients or subjects will be receiving them. We will also note through the track and trace the number of people that will be getting it, because bear in mind, it is from manufacturer to the patient.
This process of traceability starts right from the ports. The agency, using the data already collected about every single vaccine entering into the country, will verify their authenticity using technology.
When these vaccines will be coming into Nigeria, at the point of release, NAFDAC will be scanning the data elements that are placed on the packaging of the material to be able to collect information about the vaccines that are coming into the country. Number one, for the purposes of verification. Before these products will be arriving, we will be collecting information about the products that will be coming into Nigeria from the manufacturers, the marketing authorization holders. And this information, at the point in which these vaccines will be coming into the country, will be verified against the physical products that are coming. Number one, this will help us to be able to guide against the infiltration of our legitimate supply chain with counterfeit products. So we want to be sure that it is the COVAX vaccines that are meant for Nigeria that are actually being released into distribution at the ports. So we will ensure that there is scanning at the port so that we can verify that the products are those we are expecting. When we do this scanning for those products that have passed the verification process, we will then release into circulation.
One of the critical points of NAFDAC's collaborative efforts is in the area of proper warehousing of these vaccines. And plans are being put in place to ensure that this is done in accordance to the storage requirements of the vaccines.
We also want to ensure that at every point in the distribution chain, we identify those places where these vaccines will be moving through, the warehouses where they will be stored. We want to know the facilities where they will be dispensed, and we will endeavor to ensure that we put infrastructure and structures in place to be able to capture the data as it goes through the distribution chain. So the data we are collecting for the movement of these vaccines through the distribution chain will help us to be able to trace and to track whatever product that has come in this case now the COVID-19 vaccines, through the supply chain. And this data also will help us to be able to support the activities of the pharmacovigilance, so that when there are, in cases where you have reports of adverse effects following immunization, we will be able to identify the batch of the product, the type of the product, and the route in which the product that was dispensed at that particular location had gone through. So this information will help us to be able to understand the patterns of movement of the COVID-19 vaccines through the supply chain. So any vaccine that is scanned and is detected to be illegitimately in the supply chain will not be administered. It will not be administered because we do not know the source or the origin of the vaccines, and we are not able to trace them.
NAFDAC and your health will be right back. Please stay tuned.
Tayo. Ọjọ́ mẹ́ta ẹ̀gbọ́n. Ọjọ́ kan pẹ̀lú. Ó yá, jókòó. Mommy Junior àti Junior ńkọ́?
Uncle T. Ààrẹ.
Mommy Junior.
Ẹ káàbọ̀.
Junior, oya, wá lọ ra ọtí fún uncle ẹ látọ̀dọ̀ Aunty Caro. Oya, ṣe kíá.
Irọ́ o. Ṣẹ́yìn ò mọ̀ pé ríran Junior lọ́tí líle nídàí. Ó lè mú láti nífẹ̀ẹ́ sọ́tí mímu ní kékeré ni. Ẹ bá mú ẹjẹ́ ń lọ rà fúnra mi.
Èmi ò mọ̀ pé bó ṣe rí nìyẹn.
Ẹ mọ̀, ṣebí mo sọ fún yín.
Ilé-iṣẹ́ NAFDAC ní má fọwọ́ kàn ní ọtí líle jẹ́ fún gbogbo ẹni tí ò bá tí ì pọ̀ ọmọ ọdún 18.
Mi ò ní ran nírú iṣẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́.
Ojúṣe gbogbo wa ni òbí, alágbàtọ́, àtòǹtajà ọtí láti dẹ́kun ọtí mímu fún ọmọdé láwùjọ wa. Ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa.
Ìkéde yìí wá láti ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn tó ń ṣọtí Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria, NAFDAC àti ilé-iṣẹ́ ìjọba àpapọ̀ tó ń mójútó ètò ìlera.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching NAFDAC and your else. Beyond traceability, the agency has also stepped up its pharmacovigilance apparatus, familiarizing with all the elements of the vaccines being approved in the US, UK, and EU.
What we are doing as we speak is to highlight each segment of the approval for the two countries, FDA and US rather, and Europe, so that if there is any side effect, adverse drug reaction, we will know that, okay, these are the type of things that we should be looking for. Because we're going to do active pharmacovigilance. Active pharmacovigilance meaning it is not somebody sending us data and then after 1 month we collate. No. Our staff have been trained to the state level, pharmacovigilance in Abuja, and also the staff at the different states, to go after the data, to work with healthcare workers whenever the vaccine is here or is being distributed.
One very key concern of many people across the globe as far as these COVID-19 vaccines are concerned is adverse drug reaction. People fear for the effect of the vaccines on them. Whilst NAFDAC guarantees that no vaccine will be administered on the Nigerian population without the agency first verifying that it is safe for use, it has also put measures in place to ensure that cases of adverse drug reactions are seamlessly reported.
We've worked on ourselves and trained ourselves to monitor the adverse drug reactions. The adverse drug reactions usually we learn from the manufacturers or the developers of the vaccines. The developers of the vaccines had carried out clinical trials and they have noted some of the adverse reactions and possibly the ones that might also come up that may not have been recorded during the clinical trials. So they've given us an idea of what we should be expecting. And we've also asked them to come up with what we call risk management plans for those kind of adverse reactions so that we adequately armed ourselves. So when detected, then there are mitigations planned. So, and all, because the NAFDAC officers may not necessarily be in all the facilities, though we'll be monitoring the activities of those facilities. So what we have done, we need to also train those people so that they'll be able to detect the adverse reactions and report them adequately.
An intelligent new addition to Nigeria's adverse drug reaction reporting mechanism is the Med Safety app, which was launched in 2020. This app will be crucially important with monitoring the effects of COVID-19 vaccines in Nigeria.
As it will happen, the Med Safety app that we just launched about 2 months or 2.5 months ago was developed by MHRA. And MHRA now working with us at the continental level makes it easier for NAFDAC to use that technology to monitor side effects, adverse drug reactions that may be observed after the immunization. And it's a neat, simple app that anybody can download. And our own pharmacovigilance is already training different health sectors to download and to know how to use it. So that if somebody, the vaccine is in Calabar or Ibadan or wherever, the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and others will have known how to use it. So that if somebody is given the vaccine, of course there will be a WhatsApp communication or text messaging. Okay, your arm is a little tender today, or you have fever. You can easily text the healthcare worker, and then they will enter it. And if it is an educated consumer or educated person that received the immunization, that person can actually use it and record what he or she is experiencing. So the Med Safety app is very neat, and the goal of the AU level involvement is to ensure that we have an African vigilance database. Because you may observe some clinical outcomes in Caucasian population. You may not observe the same in an African population. Many times they are similar, but sometimes they are not. So this will give us an opportunity to look inward. Okay, the way people are reacting to it in South Africa is different from the way people are reacting to it in West Africa or in Central Africa or whatever. So we can actually find out whether there are ethnic differences. Aside from that, we can compare our own data with Europe. We can compare it with the US. So it's very neat initiative once we start the process.
Currently, there are so many technical working groups that are not only limited to NAFDAC. It's like a countrywide national Nigerian COVID-19 vaccine technical working group, which comprises of different stakeholders from different streams of life, looking at the national primary health care, looking at members from NAFDAC, looking at partners from WHO, UNICEF, CDC, NCDC, and others that have a stake to ensure that the right vaccines are received in Nigeria, and with respect to safety monitoring, that every surveillance system is put in place to ensure that people who receive the vaccines are well monitored. And if there are cases of adverse events following immunization as a result of the COVID-19 vaccine, they are documented appropriately. Now, we are not looking at it based on country basis, but rather having a multi-country approach to safety monitoring. So the AU3S, it's a smart safety surveillance that is manned by AU. Now, what we're looking at is looking at how to actually get real-time data from the people who are immunized, rather than the delayed processes that are in place before. For monitoring of AEFIs in country, we normally use our AEFI reporting form that people report adverse events if they notice, which is the passive way of reporting. But we have looked at, for COVID-19 vaccine, which is a novel vaccine, we should not leave it only to passive surveillance system, but also to ensure that in addition to the passive surveillance system, there is an active surveillance approach to it so that people can actually track all forms of adverse events associated with the COVID-19 in country. Because we know that a lot of clinical trials have not been done in our own population. So that active surveillance system will help us actually follow up the patients, the participants, the populace that have received the vaccines, and be able to monitor real time and adequately what they have experienced. Because getting that safety data real time will actually give us a lot of evidence-based data that will help NAFDAC take informed regulatory decisions. We are actually identifying sentinel sites that we will use to follow up, recruit patients like a cohort event monitoring, recruit patients that are coming to take the vaccines and be able to follow them up appropriately. So we have some technology-based tools that we're going to use to actually monitor and report AEFIs as a result of COVID-19. And in the active surveillance sentinel sites that we have been identifying, we also have a vaccine monitor, which people will be recruited before they receive the vaccine. And it is an automated process. So at specific intervals, they are prompted to report any kind of AEFIs that they have been able, that they have identified after the receipt of the vaccine. So I think a lot of work is ongoing to ensure that safety monitoring of the COVID-19 vaccine, being that it is a novel vaccine, can actually be tracked in country so that the country will be able to take informed regulatory decisions.
Another good thing about what is happening in the country is collaboration with sister agencies. We started this about 2 months plus ago. We are collaborating with primary health because primary health is in charge of immunization. And if we are using track and trace, and our own pharmacovigilance directorate will be doing pharmacovigilance, it makes sense to collaborate. We are also working with NCDC because bear in mind, healthcare workers will be the first target or the first group to receive vaccines, and NCDC knows where their healthcare workers are, the ones that are, that take care of COVID patients. We are working with WHO, we are working with UNICEF, and of course, Ministry of Health, in order to make sure we are looking at this holistically, so that at the end of the day, we'll have a robust platform.
That's our package for today. Please join us same time, same station next week for a fresh edition. In the meantime, if you have comments, complaints, or you want to report activities of fake drugs or adulterated food products peddlers, our doors are always open. You can reach NAFDAC via toll-free numbers. For inquiries, call 0700-162-3322. For complaints, call 0800-162-3322. You may also email nafdac@nafdac.gov.ng. If you have complaints about any form of misconduct, you can reach the Reforms Unit via email reforms@nafdac.gov.ng or call the Reforms hotlines on 0909 763 0506 or 0909 763 0507. NAFDAC, customer focused, agency minded. Remember, COVID-19 is real. Please ensure you and your family follow the safety measures as outlined by the NCDC. Stay away from crowded places as much as possible, and if you must be out there, please wear a face mask. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water, and ensure you use only NAFDAC-approved alcohol-based hand sanitizers. See you next week. Stay safe.